We feel like family. Surprise! Big birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Nana. Happy birthday to you. For he's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. Yay! He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. And so say all of us. Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip! Hooray! A nice big mom and dad next to you with a cake. Can Admire keep the cake? And or can you move out of that space there? Because I see you want to have a birthday space. Come out of the space there and take a nice big. Keep your cake in your hand.
Oh, okay.
You know what? Tupac died at 24. Admire's turning 24. I'm telling you, hypo. He's turning 24 and look at what all he accomplished in his life. So I'm saying, happy birthday, my friend, and may God bless you to see many, many more. You know, we've really become true friends in the short space of time that I've known you. And I just want to give you Romans 8 verse 11. You know, as one of my favorite verses, and I want to give it to him today. And it says that the same spirit that rose Jesus Christ from the dead, that same spirit lives within our mortal bodies. So Admire your road. I know there's still going to be a lot coming your way. But I know that the Lord is with you. And I know that even when there's time when you feel you alone, you can call upon that Holy Spirit that's inside of you. So God bless you, my friend. And may you have an awesome birthday on Monday, the 1st of June. So you may wish him happy birthday on Monday. But it's an early birthday wish. And may God bless you, my brother. Oh, God bless you. Hallelujah. Yes. Nou komt hij. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. We're going to continue with the program. We're going to continue the program. And next on the program is, guess who's on the program? The birthday boy. We're going to give him a happy birthday clap. When he comes up, he's going to spend 10 minutes. He says he just wants another 10 minutes. And then another 10 minutes after that. So he's going to have still 20 minutes. And he wants to speak to you about something very close to his heart. So let's give a round of applause to Mr. Makarichi. Almost 24. Yes.
Wow, thank you so much. That was quite special. I never pictured being surprised on your own event. I mean, I literally put this event without their involvement. Not support, but involvement.
Yes.
And, okay. I give it to you guys. I'm really surprised. They called me to go upstairs. Somebody needs to speak to you urgently. And in my mind, what's urgent they can't handle. It's my day. Why is this person trying to disturb me? And I knew I'm speaking now. So I'm like, you're killing my vibe. But thank you so much. And it's my birthday on Monday. Growing another year older. But what you must take home from me growing another year older. Somebody's sitting thinking, okay, actually someone mentioned this to me and said, wow, you've been published in newspapers, you've been on radio, you've been done yada yada. Listen, we are all like sunflowers. We are all like general flowers. We have our time to bloom. It doesn't mean I did it now that I'm 24. I threw an event that you attended. Doesn't mean you should feel bad or try and push yourself if you're not yet 24. Your time is coming. But now what you need to pay attention to is, when is that time? A lot of people lose focus and get to not stand in the right place when the right time comes, only because they're not paying attention to when is the right time. That's what is important. And there was a video playback that was done. That thing touches my heart. Why? Because there's a time in growing up, I believe we all have times when we suddenly feel like my parents, there is this thing that they're not doing that I want them to do, and you sometimes feel upset. I mean, if Uncle Sage would tell you, there's sometimes I would even ask him, should I be upset about this or what, you know? And it would just encourage me, but I learned one thing. If it was not because of whatever that got me upset they did as my parents, we were not going to be here. I don't know if it makes sense. Because I had to go through whatever it is that upsetted me. If my mom used to beat me when I was a child. Like, she was killing my vibe. Yes. And let me tell you what my father, being a pastor, would do. He would come with a Bible, and it's because now I'm grown up, I'm not used to being beaten. That's why I forgot. But there are two scriptures in the Bible. The other one talks about saying the rod and the child should not stay far away from each other, something of the sort. So imagine somebody puts you on a chair and gives you the Bible. Can you read this verse for me? You are expecting something different, and you are reading an instruction that you're giving to someone to put you in order. I mean, what are you going to say after that? So my question, in my mind, I was asking myself, they are beating me, because literally when we cry, you cry either saying your mom or your dad. Now I was asking myself, who should I cry to when they're the ones who are beating me now? I didn't know, should I be crying saying mom? Should I say dad when they're the one beating me? So it's part of growing up, but my point is, the people you're upset with, the people that are doing you injustice, the people who are killing your vibe, the people who are doing things that you do not appreciate, the people who are moving you, the people who are pushing you in a negative way, you need them. Without them, you will not feel the push. It's the push that causes us to be able to see results. A speaker once said, sometimes if you do not understand the type of door that you want to exit on, a simple door like the one behind us, look back a little bit, there are people coming in, that door, if you don't understand the command that it needs, you're going to sleep in here. You can stay for 5 years in here without going out. There are doors that you need to open. You just put your hand on the handle, turn it down and push, and it opens. Some are automatic. You are going to stand next to the door. I mean, who has ever been to a petrol station, mall, wherever there are automated doors, and the door killed your vibe and you were like standing next to the door and it's not opening. But you literally had to just move back, be in the vicinity where you are, where the sensor is, right? But if you're not aware of what kind of a door you have in front of you, you are going to sit there for long because you do not understand the command behind the door. I'm talking about doors with aspirations, with goals, with family goals, occupational goals. We've got a lot of goals that we have. But those goals sometimes are being blocked just by a door that you need to understand how to open it. As simple as that. Okay, let me move on to what I wanted to speak about before you guys did the birthday thing. I wanted to talk about 4 types of people which you should watch out. Remember, we're talking about association. Say association. Association. No, you can do it better than that. Tap the person next to you and say association. I'm happy because people moved. Craig was here, Desai was there, and that's part of association. How many people do you know now that you didn't know before you came in? Just show me by raising a number of fingers. If you now know 2 people, you just do this. So how many people do you know that you didn't know? And some people are raising both hands are not enough. That's part of association. So this event should be a call to everybody in our own different capacities, levels of life, ranks at work, whatever it is, to know that there's always something that you can learn from, whether it's the person who's the janitor or it's the CEO. Let's stop judging people based on their levels or ranks at work, and let's start respecting the content that comes out of them. One day, I met a person who asked me a very funny question and said, "How do you do what you do?" And I said, before I answer you, how do you do what you do? He told me what they do, and I said, the second question is, what are you not doing? So the difference between me, you, and the person sitting next to you is, what are you not doing that others are doing? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Let me speak to you about gifts, talent. I spent some time on radio talking about it, and I want to talk about it again. We all, from that corner to that corner, have gifts, talents that we have, that we can perform well enough to be paid for. I mean, just look at the way you guys are quiet listening to me. If this was not my event, you could have paid me to speak. These guys are getting paid to speak. They've identified their gifts and talents. But now, the problem comes when you don't know what your gift and what your talent is. People are sitting, pushing trolleys in a direction where the shop is not. And when they walk out of the mall, they were pushing a trolley towards the restroom. And when they walk out of the mall, they don't have anything in the basket. Why? Because they were pushing in the wrong direction. You spend a lot of time, I meet a lot of entrepreneurs from the time from Revival and the time from the radios that I've been in. I meet people everywhere I go who ask, tell me something, I want you to help with business consulting. I'm not even qualified yet. But the good thing is, I always find one problem. People are pursuing that direction. But what they are, their values and what they're good at is that direction. And the problem is, they're going to spend 6-10 years doing the same thing, being consistent, yes, but sometimes consistency, when it's applied in the wrong thing, it's never going to work. Because you're being consistent in something that you're not good at. You're being consistent in something that you're passionate about. You're being consistent in something that your resources, skill set, and knowledge is not in line with. And the problem is, you won't even be able to grow yourself in that. There's a part in my book where I say, understand, firstly you identify what your gift is. The second stage is you need to understand what is in line with that gift. If you understand that you're a public speaker, you love talking, now understand what is within the speaking circuit, which is why I can call any of these guys here, because they have been speaking longer than I have. Not only because I'm 24. Yes, we could differ here and there, but the fact that they have been there before me means something. So don't just associate yourself with people who have nothing that is in line with your dream, your goal. Yes, we're talking about association, but I like what my boss says. He says we don't want to talk to people, we want to talk to the right people. Sometimes we could have been 200 people in this room, but the content was not going to be relevant. So I believe we have the right people, because the content we're speaking is speaking to the right audience. The people who are here are the right people who needed to hear this. So feeling we could have had, in as much as Kimberley has people, we could have had everybody in Kimberley come here. But the question is, are they the people we want? Are they the people I want to associate my brand with? Because branding is important. It is what puts us here. So take this to the heart. You mean a lot to me for being here. And I promise you, I'm going to make sure that I build a relationship with each and every one of you. But take note, if what you do and who you are does not go in line with growth, whether for you or for me, that is not in line with my vision. The focus, you can check my banner, it speaks about we are here to help you grow as we grow as well. So if you're not in line with growth, it can be spiritual growth, it can be financial growth, it can be emotional growth, it can be academic growth, whatever, as long as it has something to do with growing. My man. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Secondly, they spoke about a lot of things, achievements and so forth. For me, I'm not going to lie to you, because I know what I'm made of. The Bible says, for I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. So God knew that I am a nation changer. I am bound to impact the places and spaces that I enter. So I'm not going to be really flattered by knowing that I've done things that a lot of people who are even 40, 60 have not done yet. No. But my goal is, what is my next mission? My point being, a lot of people, when they do just this little achievement, Benita, just this small progress, they feel pompous and they begin to think they've made it. But the point is, we want to grow day by day. That's why Chris says every day life is getting better and better, because there is room for growth every day. But if you do not submit to growth, regardless of age, size, color, whatever, then you're not going to grow. I spoke about it earlier on. Are you within a parking lot? The business that you work in or that you run, are you within a parking lot? Or are you on the highway? I mean, there are cars, Mark has got a very nice car, by the way. There are cars that, no, he was really going to tell me, why didn't you break up my car? Anyway, there are cars that need the highway more than anything. They're not, like you can feel that this car is being suppressed when it's in the location. She's saying that because she drives a Mac, and you know, and she agrees with me. That's the same with people. It's either the people you are working with are in an environment where they feel like you're suppressing them. Maybe it's time for you to just open your palm and be able to release. There's a lot that we all have. That's why I said from that corner to that corner. We have gifts, talent, anything, you name it. Some people know how to cook. That's why we were eating. That food was not for free. Some people know how to talk. That's why we pay to go to events at times. That's why there are always fees to something. There's something that someone is doing. So are you telling me you are the only one who doesn't have anything that you're good at? That would be crazy. But now the point is, go home, understand yourself. T.D. Jakes has a sermon that I enjoy to play over and over again, when he says, people don't grow because they don't spend time with themselves. I mean, I moved out from my parents' house, and for the first few weeks it was hectic for me, because every now and then I called a lot of friends. Hi, what are you doing? Can we do? Why? Because I want to talk, I want to be with people. But God is saying it's time for you to grow. Go and be on your own. Focus on yourself. Understand who you are, what you do. And you still want to hear the noise that other people are making. Understand this. There's a difference in associating with people and over-associating. When we talk about association, we're not spend the whole day with people. What about you? For us to be able to go to a place where they talk about somebody, they're spending time with themselves. It's a new thing that I'm also doing. I'm trying to reduce the amount of time I spend on the road in places and stuff. Why? Because I want to know more about myself. I want to understand myself better, so that I can be able to say every day, my life is getting better and better. Guys, you know, it's what you don't know. In this room that we're sitting, I'm going to tell you about these 4 people. Somebody boarded a flight to be here, and they're here. Somebody drove all the way from Kuruman. That lady called me in the morning and literally said, I'm going to drive over the speed for me to be there. I don't want to miss this event for anything. Somebody came from Joburg for this event. There's a gentleman who told me that he was on his way to Durban, I believe. And he just decided to change his plans slightly just to accommodate this event. What is my point? Sometimes the push we were talking about, the adjustment that we're talking about, it's not for free to come from wherever they were coming from. I know you also came and it was not for free, but sometimes you're not growing because you're not giving yourself time and allowing yourself to access what is within the pushing phase. To those who go to church, they say life is not, they say repentance or being a born again Christian. It's not about when you walk to the front and say, I receive Jesus Christ. When Pastor Ches or my father say, or whoever the pastor is, when they say, Lord Jesus, forgive me for my sins and yada yada yada. It's not that part that makes you a born again. It's the moment you turn from the altar and say amen. When you turn back, the first thing and the last thing you do until you go back to that altar, what you do is what makes you a born again. For success and business and being a person who grows, it's about when you hear these motivational speakers and public speakers talk. When you were saying, because I was listening to some of the comments when people were speaking, I could hear, and I'm like, okay, that means somebody's taking something home. But the point is, when you turn back, was it just coming in and ending there, or you had enough time to allow yourself to change? Somebody say change. In closure, I'm encouraging you to change positively.
I think that's off the lunch clap. Come on guys, let's give a better clap. You're having speakers coming on right now. That's gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna count for 30 seconds and keep on clapping. Get up a bit. Just get up on your seat a little bit. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up a little bit, get up a little bit, get up a little bit, and start clapping. Yes, yes. What a round of applause to yourself as well for still being here. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys for being here. And that was a clap to yourself. Firstly, you clap for admire, and then you clap to yourself for still being here, because this is a good space to be at. You know, and we were meeting in the week, a couple of the people that were planning this whole thing, myself, Donovan, Pastor Ches, and a couple of other people, Denise, them all were here. It was the day before yesterday. And we were speaking about selling books. You know, but what came to my mind is that at a book launch like this, you don't sell a book, you sell the person. And I realized why that came to my mind. You know, because Ralph Emerson says that talent alone cannot make a writer. There must be a man behind the book. Talent alone cannot make a writer. There must be a man behind the book. So that is what we are here for, to come and hear who Admire is, so that you can buy the book that Admire wrote. Isn't it true? Because you have learned more about Admire now, isn't it? Even me, knowing him for so long, I have learned more about him today. So I now, and I'm not taking any credit for myself, but it's the first time I come to a book launch. Yesterday I had a book talk. I'm getting this book thing now, Benita. And yesterday I had a book talk, Pastor. And today I'm having a book launch. I'm in the book thing. So I want to encourage you guys. This is good things. Tomorrow I'm going to write the book. Mom says, I'm taking that. Thank you, Lord. I'm going to write my own book tomorrow. But next on, we have this dynamic lady. You know, we heard a little bit about her just now. You know, but now you're going to see who she is. You know, she's really, if I speak about dynamic in all sorts of ways, she is dynamic in all sorts of ways. I was at school with her. She was, I think, a year or two ahead of me. And even at school, I admired her for how she carried herself. And she still does it the same way. You know, also supposed to be Robert Jacks of school, you know, but Bikkie Rof en Bikkie. Ander woord op, ander woord. Onbeskof. Nee, daar niet onbeskof in. Maar dat is rough. But I still admire her for the way she carries herself and what she does with herself and through herself. And I know she's a woman of God, and I know she's going to come and portray what God has placed inside of her. So I want you to give a 30-second clap right now to Miss Benita George. Come on to the floor. I know you can do better than that. Come on, better clap. Hey. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everybody. This shift is called the graveyard shift. Because we become quiet, you know, that eerie, quiet silence. Everybody ate and everybody just want to sit back and don't talk too loud. Don't speak too much, just let me be. Okay? So I'm going to let you be, but you're at a powerful place. You're not just going to be. You're going to be being. And that is what I want to talk about this afternoon. I'm not going to be long. I have the privilege to represent Berkeley West as well. I come from this area. I grew up when I was younger, like he says. There was no high school in Berkeley West, so we had to drive to Kimberley to come to a high school. And I have learned that Kimberley is part of Berkeley, and although Kimberley don't want to recognize Berkeley, they are part of Berkeley too. You would not get your vote if the bar rubber didn't exist, let me just say it. And so let's just be clear that I can stand here and say, like Sergio say, I want to highlight to you what we call the collateral intellect. We sit in a room that enriches us, but we will not be rich if we don't realize the plethora of possibilities and the gift of people that we have around us. Association allows you to also enrich yourself. But the idea of enrichment comes through collaborative efforts. And I sit on this panel and I look at this panel and I look at this panel now that I'm on the stage second time. And I say to myself, what collateral intellect. If we come together and we put our minds together, nobody can say what will happen. But all of us will recognize something great is about to happen. And I want to say it also this afternoon. I'm going to speak about something very simple, but very powerful. And I theme it this afternoon, being a contribution. When we think of contribution, we think it's money. In our minds, we think, oh, somebody wants me to contribute, but can I just remind us, we are human beings? So being a contribution, and not a contributor, a contribution is what makes us human beings. You see, animals react when they get a stimulus, but human beings have the possibility to respond. We have a second or two where we could use our intellect and we respond. Now, we respond very easily to fear. It's called collateral fear too. If somebody steals in the yard, in the street, that message go down, this house was broken in, this car was stolen, and all of a sudden there's collaborative fear in that street that there's somebody, because the message spread. And we're so easy acclimatized to it. I lived in the US at a time when 9/11 happened, and there was an announcement made by the Ministry of Safety in the United States that they're going to color code when there's a terrorist attack. Remember, they just survived the terrorist attack 9/11. I'm talking about how many years ago, Mark? And when they had it, they had on the TV screens color-coded to show what area or where they were at. And it instilled a fear in the nation. It instilled a level of collaborative fear that did not allow Americans to want to move without first checking what color code that, we say province, they call it states, that state had. And it took the US, North America, 7 to 10 years to demoralize that idea of collective fear. Now I laugh because I live in South Africa, and I love the fact that Africans says every day is a new day, let's start it anew. What happened yesterday happened, but this morning is a new day, let's start it anew. It's something that is built within us, that nothing that makes us afraid will keep us where we are at. The truth of Africa is we do not recognize the contribution that we are. We can easily recognize to move on when we're fearful, but we cannot easily recognize the richness that we have when it's right in front of us. And I want to say today, money is the currency through which people show they are enrolled in the possibility you are offering. It is not something that you need to make a contribution. It's a currency that is used to put to that. And we are here today because somebody, where's admire, somebody made a contribution. I don't have these copies. This is my own copies. Let me just say it. He put together something to contribute in this world that is from him, of him, and are him. And I want to say this afternoon, when we allow others and we are truthful with our contribution, we give others the currency to also bring more of themselves to the table. We would not be here if he didn't give us the opportunity to be contributors to this program this afternoon. You're all so quiet and so reserved. It's like, but it's true. You would not be here if you didn't want to make a contribution to that which is already taking place. The second thing, and I'm going to finish with that, I'm not going to talk long, I told you, is one thing that being a contribution does is it cultivates beauty. When you become a contribution, you have an eye for something that brings out the beauty in it. Because you see the need for it, but not because you see the need only, but because you understand the context that guides you, and not the evidence that makes you become a judge. When I look around in the Northern Cape, it's dry. It looks like, oh, there's something wrong here. But you don't cut a tree in the winter. You don't know the potential of that tree. And let me just say, Steve Jobs made that statement. I can't take honor for that. He says you can't cut a tree in the winter. You don't know what season it is in. And when we look at human beings, we aim consciously with the way of our words to define and design the lives around us. You have the fullness and the right to make a contribution to design something that does not stay the same. Admire is making me close off a month of book launches. I started the second weekend in June. Ek woestyn wysheid, die Ronel Besaidenout was a speaker, a writer, an author. It was her third book that she was promoting, and I had the privilege of being with her with it. I am currently with an author of his second book, Design Your Business. We had a book talk last night, and I'm seated here and I'm thinking, it is what I've always wanted to do in South Africa. I've always said that I want to promote books and reading as much as I can. Because you see, silence, solitude, and simplicity, Henry Nouwen says it, is where we find ourselves mostly. But what happens in that moment is what we allow to penetrate our brain and our minds and our intellect. So we read when there's nobody around. We read and we impact ourselves when nobody's seeing. Bathroom sometimes, or the toilet, you grab the book and you run to that secret place and you quickly just want to scan through something. We go to the places where nobody will find us, to have that nook of time where we invest in ourselves by reading. And I want to challenge you this afternoon. Read out loud. Don't just read to yourself, read out loud. Because when you hear what you read, it has a double impact. It enables you to look beyond the visceral, what you see, and beyond the immediate. But it gives you a voice for the deeper you that still has to hear. There's more to you than what you think. Let's be in contribution. Let's not just add, but let's be a contribution. Because being a contribution, you leave something behind. Do you know that? That even when you walk away, your contribution don't walk with you. It stays behind. And it builds whatsoever it was meant for. Thank you this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Now that's what you call fierce and powerful, isn't it? Yeah. She told me she wasn't going to be long, but I didn't think it was going to be that powerful. But Benita, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate every word. You know, what really caught my ear and my heart is that you must read aloud. You know, there's a verse in the Bible that says faith comes by hearing. And by hearing the word of God. And I think that by hearing yourself, you actually hear the Creator that created you from the inside of you. You get in contact with Him as well. So it's so profound and so powerful what you just said. And I think after all of this, last night when I went home, I was actually reading the book that I bought last night. And it speaks about resilience, and I know that our world, we're in a place sometimes where we get beaten down and we can't get up. I'm a policeman, and a lot of that happens in the police force as well, where our guys get beaten down and they can't get up, and some femicides come from it, and a lot of destruction comes from it. But when I was reading that book, Benita, last night, I actually understood that there is always a way up, Chris. Even though you don't see it at that moment when you're down, there's always a way up. And I want to encourage everyone here that if you're going to read, do what Benita says. Read good books and read them aloud. Read good books and read them aloud, because it's going to birth something inside of you that I can guarantee you is going to change you forever. There's a writer that says, and her name is Isabel Allende, and she says, write what should not be forgotten. Now, she writes because you must read. And let's read books that we won't forget. Because that's going to change us. So without any ado, by saying that, I wanna give away something. And I'm going to give away the first book to someone that says that I want to start reading. I know all of us that are here are maybe not readers. Some people struggle to read because we've been spoiled by television and the spot iPods and all these things that we listen to, earphones in our ears, and we've been spoiled. But I want a person that is honest to himself or herself today and say, I haven't been reading, and I haven't been reading good books that can build me. And I want that person to just raise his or her hand. Anybody? The first person. Thank you so much. Bless you. Bless you. Enjoy. And without any ado, I'm going to call upon Henry. Henry's at my spot, as we heard, and he's going to come and say something. He's part of the guys that gave a response to everything that's happening here today. But I also know Henry personally because we attend one church. But he said, Sergio, you only have to give me a mic, it's going to be 2 minutes. But I don't think it's going to be 2 minutes. It's going to be much more longer than 2 minutes. But let's give a round of applause to Henry to come and say something.
Thanks, Sergio, and Maya, thanks for having us. It's really for us, it's a privilege to get involved with any event that empowers entrepreneurs and people to grow their business and to enable economic growth within the city and within the province and even within the country. Just to take out a couple, I think it's only 2 points that really stood out for me is when me and Chris was talking before the event, it linked quite well to what the message was in some of the talks, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of people that's already gone through and figured out what you want to figure out. So go learn from others and don't pay the school fees yourself. Go talk to someone that already accomplished what you want to accomplish, and you'll save yourself a lot of time and pain. And then I think Mark touched on this, but there's a lot of people that does not have someone to look up to or to mentor or to help them. So I would encourage anyone in a position that's in the position to help someone else, to help others, and be someone that others can look up to, because the country And the Northern Cape needs leaders to come forward and help others to become better versions of themselves. And then be useful to all your clients and anyone who you engage with, because then the business will take care of itself. If you are useful enough, people will pay to make use of your services. And then be expensive, because there was just two examples. There was a study done where people were given placebo pills, and half of the people were told the pill is very expensive, and the pain relief on the people that believed the pill was more expensive was significantly more than the people who did not receive the information. And then people who paid more for tickets were more likely to attend events. And so the message is people who spend more on a product or service value it more and get more use out of it. So don't sell yourself short, and if you add enough value, people won't mind paying for whatever you are offering. Thanks. And with that, we're just going to give away one small gift bag with the book and the audiobook, and that's the free books you saw on the advert and online. So I think we can just do it in a question. If anyone except Admire's mother and father can tell us on what day was Admire born? When? Congratulations. And then just Sujal, and back to you. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Henry, for that. We really appreciate it. Thanks, Old Mutual, for being part of this. I told Admire now, I see that him and his boss has on the same shoes. And I asked, does Old Mutual sponsor shoes as well? Because I also want to pay. No, just on a lighter note for that. But thank you so much, Henry, for that. I think we can give Henry another round of applause. And then we're going to call upon our last speaker. But I really want us to give this man a round of applause. Ik weet het ons die wysheid en die grysheid vir die laaste gelos. Julle sê maar so, né? Daar kom wysheid met grysheid, And I'm not saying boldness and Chris, but I really want you to listen attentively. I want you to really open up your hearts right now. I know what you're going to hear right now is going to change your life. I'm not saying it because I want to say it. I say it because I know it. I've never heard Chris Mpisi speak, and whatever he spoke didn't touch me. He's most of the times when I have events and things and I need motivational speakers, he's the first person on my dial. So I want you to open up your heart and listen to this, just as all the other speakers spoke.
I'm going to speed down now.
As all the other speakers spoke, and you have caught something from them. I know you're going to catch something from Chris Mpisi as well. So I want you to listen, open up your heart right now, listen attentively, and let's give a round of applause to Chris Mpisi as our next speaker. Thank you, Chris. Bless you. Before he speaks, day by day it gets better and better.
Thank you. Hi everybody. I was just sitting there and thinking when I was listening to Bonita speak, is it still necessary for me to speak? Because I think she said so many powerful things that it's not even necessary for me to speak. And I think sometimes as a speaker you must recognize when somebody is good at what they're doing And I think all of the speakers were so powerful that I wonder if I should still say anything. And then also too, I think Mark, you'll agree, and Benita, that there's something about the graveyard shift, yeah? Because everybody in front of you says everything, or those who come before you say everything that you should have said. So let's pause for 1 minute. They were so good. Do you really need me to say anything? Okay. Let's try. There's a beautiful saying that says, "Build a better world," said God. And I ask how. The world is such a huge place and I'm so small and useless. There's nothing that I can do. God in all his wisdom answered and said, "Just build a better you." I use that one particularly because I see a lot of pastors and religious people here. I want to start by saying that I think I'm not the most religious person. I think my religion focuses on two specific things that falls in clearly with the theme that I've been given to deal with. I believe that when we die one day, God is not going to ask us why we didn't find a cure for cancer, HIV, or why we didn't change the destiny of humanity. But I think God's going to ask us simply two questions, and this defines my religion. One, what did you do with the talent that I gave you? And secondly, how did you use that talent? My theme is partnership. How did you use that talent to make the lives of other people a little more bearable? And I certainly think in the country that we live in, it is crucial that we remember partnership. And that partnership starts with our wives, our friends, our family, our children. That partnership starts there. I think they define it very nicely in Setswana when they say, "Mutu ke mutu ka batu." And they say it in Afrikaans, "A mens is a mens, there are mens." And then, we coin all these wonderful, beautiful words like Ubuntu, which means togetherness, and we speak about a rainbow nation. And I think you'd agree that a rainbow consists of various colors. But it creates that kaleidoscope which amazes us every time and amuses us often. And we fool kids into believing that, there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, which kind of symbolizes the significance of a rainbow and a rainbow nation. But that rainbow wouldn't be the rainbow with all of those basic colors that constitute that particular kaleidoscope. Who are we in that kaleidoscope of the rainbow? And what is our contribution that will make the lives of others a little more bearable? I think as South Africans, we must start getting over our racial issues now. We're wasting time. The rest of the world is not waiting for us to sort out our issues. By the way, America's going through, what they're going through now is what we have overcome, but still we're acting like victims. It's time that we start acting like victors. And in order to be a victor, we got to appreciate one another and the partnership and the relationship with one another. You see, maybe we can learn, and I love looking at some issues of nature to define certain aspects of life. And if we truly want to understand partnership, I think the example which I'm going to coin, which some of you might have heard before, is the example of, doves when they fly off. At various seasons, they fly from here to where it's warmer, and, when it gets cold there again, they fly back to the southern hemisphere and so forth. But have you ever watched when those doves fly? If you want to understand partnership very well, and as South Africans, and in front of me, I don't see color. If you're not changing South Africa, no matter how loud you speak from which platform, if you're not changing Africa, if you're not making your little contribution, in this partnership, in this collage of partnerships, then we are useless. And I often find that it's us who are useless in doing nothing that speaks the loudest and breaks the partnership and prevents our country from moving forward. Now I'm going to explain the example of birds. So when these birds trek, they normally fly in a V shape. Watch them. So they'll fly over, and normally there's one bird in the front, right? And there's a reason for it and why they fly in a V shape. That's simply, aerodynamics, to make sure that the one in the front takes, you know, the bulk of it. For those of you who are into F1 racing, you'll know what I'm talking about. Those cars are low and, you know. But then what happens is that bird in the front will fly up to a particular point and then it'll move to the back and the next bird will take over. How's that for partnership? And when that one gets tired, it falls to the back and the next one takes over. And it falls to the back and the next one. But remember, all the time they are moving forward, collectively. But also understanding, and somebody alluded to leadership. I think that makes leaders powerful, that sometimes you need to know when you need to follow and when you need to be in the front and pull. But what is interesting is when you hear those birds flying over, they're always making a sound. There's this noise that draws your attention to look up. Why? Because those at the back, the one at the front must be encouraged. So they kind of, they're making those like a sexy noises and say, go, but go. Birds know it. What about us? Ubuntu. Ubuntu kimut kabatu. Ek is ek deur jy. I did a lot of work with a particular community not so far from here, the Sand community. And it's very interesting, the Sand community has something like 13,000 hectares of land. So if you move from the skid barn up to about almost Berkeley West, left and right, the land belongs to the Sand. But the Sand has got a challenge utilizing that land because one of the key challenges is nobody wants to see anybody progress. You'll always hear the Sand complaining that the leadership is keeping them back. And maybe the lesson for us is we need to rise beyond that. You see, one of the interesting exercises that I've been doing lately was to just go to most businesses and say, how are you doing it? How have you sustained yourself for the last 19 years? And even more importantly, how have you sustained yourself without government for the last 19 years? Because we have become so dependent on government, and government cannot look after all of us. It's supposed to be a partnership. Because we construe the whole concept of freedom. Freedom doesn't mean that there'll be a chicken in your pot and a roof over your head. That's not what freedom defines freedom. What defines freedom is that I have the freedom of choice. I don't have to live in an RDP house. I think those should be reserved for the old folk. But if you are mobile, if you have your gifts, certainly you can live in any house you want. Any color, any style, any brick. But some way somebody made us believe that freedom meant somebody owes me something. And I must say our freedom is slipping away from us fast. And I'll give you a typical example. The other day by chance somebody said, come along. I was in Pretoria, my son was dancing there and we went. Somebody said, come along, and we went to Marabastad. Okay, Marabastad, that Marabastad sound and look like Marabastad. But you know, for me, I also want to tell you, I do come from, Intellect number 2. So na man kan mini kragtig plato daar en ek is maar kwera so kan ek kan lekker sabela en so. But it was interesting in Marabastad that I couldn't find a single South African. No, I did. They were selling the Mopani worms and the peanuts and the millies. But the clothing was not sold by South Africans. And then it just so happened that there's a place called Short Street in Johannesburg. Small Street. Once again. And my question was, so where is the South Africans? I think we've become lazy. I think we've become lazy. What is very significant of all of these people is to see the partnership. The partnership between the Somalis, they order in tons and split it up, which means that it's cheaper that way. For many of us, it's about me. And sadly, our government has taught us some of that for the last couple of years. And that's why we have so many investigations and so forth. We've lost the partnership. Well, Admire stepped up and he's moved forward and said, here I am. I want to make it. I want to add to say that you mustn't be modest in how you want to make it. There's no place in Africa anymore for modesty. And the time has passed where we kind of judge people by the color of their skin. But now we need competent people that step up. And stepping up doesn't mean that we're not going to make mistakes. And that's why we have partnerships and we interact with people so we don't have to, as Henry said, reinvent the wheel. It's no longer who you are. It's no longer what is the color of your skin. The question is, how competent are you? How are you using that talent that God gave you to make the lives of other people a little more bearable? And I want to end off by saying the following. We're moving into the fourth revolution, but I think for many of us we haven't even mastered the third, which is about partnership. And in rounding it off, I want to ask you, and I've broken this down into some letters. You see, in partnership, you need association. You need to associate with people. And I encourage you to associate with the best of the best. And under that A, Africa is a great country too. But Africa hasn't come to fruition. It's time we rise up. That's the A. And I want to encourage you to do D. And that's to develop yourself. And to develop your skills and your talents so that you become what God has created for you to be. But in becoming this D, I want to encourage you to become an M. I want to encourage you that while you are developing yourself, that you become a mentor to someone. Remembering that the struggle was about helping the poor to become middle class at least, and not to make the rich richer. So I want to encourage you to become mentors. But I also want to encourage you to do the I. To become a mentor with integrity. Now what is integrity? When my mind, body and soul are aligned and I know I'm doing right or I'm doing wrong. When you're doing wrong, that's not integrity. And then I want to add the R and say, if the integrity becomes a challenge, redo it. Get it right. Do right. Do right to yourself. Do right to your neighbor. And then, of course, the E. And this one I added now because of where I started. Become evangelical in what you do. Remember God in whatever you do. And if you put all of those together, you have Admire. Thank you very much. One last thing. This handing out of books is nonsense. Who's buying books? No. We can't be encouraging people to move forward. We ate the man's food now. Who's buying the books? Yes. We have one person buying the book. We have one person buying the book. I need a second person buying the book. We have 2 people buying the books. Can I get a third? But we have 3 people. 3 people buying the books. Can I have a 4th person? A 4th person, you buying the books, sir? Man, where are you? Give the books. They're going to say yes and then they disappear. We got man, sell to them. Take the money.
Buying 2 books.
See, modest South Africans. Please, the 2 of you in the back, just get the books to them. Sorry, I'm taking some of you up. You can go. Alright, just keep up your hands. Let's see who's buying the books. Because remember, next time we must buy something. Thank you, sir, for putting up your hand. I just knew you would put up the book. You, sir, you buying a book. Thank you very much. You've got a book, man, but you haven't contributed. Are you contributing? Hiban. Who's still buying a book? Hands are up. That's why we're here. We're here to buy books. We're not here to just listen to fancy talks. Sell, sir, and take the money, please. Do you have a card? Ay, 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 ay. Ladies and gentlemen, next time we have to help you. Mutu ke mutu kabatu. Partnership. We must get out of the mpa syndrome and must learn to give. Because isn't it the Bible that says when you give, you get? You're not leaving this place until you buy the book. I'm not handing out any book, sir. Okay, give me that. Who's going to buy this from me? You're buying it from me, ma'am. Thank you very much. Can I get my money, please? How much?
200.
How much do you want to give me? You want to give me 150? You don't want to give me 200? You want to give me 200? Are you negotiating with me, ma'am? 200. 150. Please collect my money from her. Thank you, ma'am. The packet costs you... You weren't supposed to say that. Damn it. Please collect my 150 rand from the lady, ma'am. Thank you very much. You look so nice with the do. Thank you very much, everybody. Did you hear Old Mutual say, that's fancy? Thank you very much. Thanks, sir. MC.
There we go. Let's give a round of applause to Curtis and PC. Yes. What an awesome time we had, today, and we're ending off. But I think we want to just give another round of applause to all our speakers. Where are they? Yo, guys and girls, you made my day. You really, really made my day. I can encourage people to come to book launches like this. Do you think you can go to the next book launch? Do you think you can come again, Tedo? Do you? Yeah, man. Thank you for your poem as well, man. It was good, man. But I really enjoyed every single bit of it. Every single bit. And thank you so much for taking the time out to come and do this. Not just for Admire, but for yourself, Pastor Peterson. I believe that you came in, you enriched yourself. Bonita mentioned it last night that it's time that we should invest in ourselves, Mr. Lowe. When do we invest in ourselves, but? And this was for me. I think this was a mighty investment in yourself. So once again, let's give all the speakers a round of applause. And now you're gonna get up and you're gonna give Admire before buying the books. Admire's gonna say one last word, and you're gonna give him a round of applause before we're gonna go buy the books, Uncle Chris. So Admire is up. He's gonna do one last word for us, and then we have Botu. Botu's gonna do the vote of thanks, and then we are done for the day. But let's give a round of applause while standing up. Not just for Admire, but I want you really to give for a second time. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you, Pastor Makarichi. Thank you, Mrs. Makarichi. Thank you for giving yourself a round of applause for being here today and enjoying this powerful session. Thank you, Admire.
Thank you so much. No, you may be seated. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I want to start off by saying, moving on to what Chris was speaking about. I agree so much because I believe, and I wrote in my book and said, the government is not an employment agency. People have misunderstood the concept of why the government is there for us. The government is there to facilitate for the availability of an environment that we as entrepreneurs, we as employees can thrive in and be able to take something home. But the problem we have is we are taking what we are not supposed to be taking. What am I saying? What the government is not supposed to be doing for us is what we are doing. We are supposed to be saying no to free things, like Chris is saying. And I agree so much because they say, just like Henry said, there is value in what you pay for. What value do you want to get in something that you get for free? I'm not saying that if you get something for free, there's no value. But ask yourself that question. How much more value are you going to generate from something that you get for free? It's a point that I think is worth thinking about at some point. It's a time and it's a season where we need to wake up and say no to some things we get for free. And say, look, somebody spent time getting this to be here. Let me appreciate the time and value they've invested in this by just paying value in exchange. Sometimes that's what helps us to get people to buy what we sell. Sometimes people don't buy what you sell because you don't buy what others sell. As simple as that. But what I wanted to use in my last session was in this second book, and I love it so much. Because if you open to those who bought it, those who got the book, if you see there's a chapter that is written employee and employer. It talks a little bit about the relationship between the employee and the employer. And what I like about it that I spoke about is it's a question of how are you as an employee helping your employer's business grow. How are you as an employer helping your employees grow? Remember we said it's about growth, right? Employees growing the businesses of the employers. But that can only happen if the employer is growing the employee. I believe nobody wants to sit in a parking lot. No. So being able to grow goes with that. So just to say thank you. If you bought a CD and a book, just show me by raising your hand. I just want one. Okay, thank you. Or you bought two, so it's useless for me to give you. I want somebody who bought one CD and one book. You have one CD and one book. If you can just show me, or you want to go and buy another CD, please give him a CD. This is for you. This is me saying thank you for appreciating the time we as authors take in putting the books together. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not the one doing the closing remarks. Don't feel offended if I don't really say thank you, because I'm going to say thank you afterwards. But my last point, rather, my closing remarks, I want them to dwell on what I think has been the core of this day for me, the foundation, the strong standing point is this guy right here for me. Why? Because if I look at this, I ask myself, could you have done it alone? No. The reason why this guy didn't do this last year, didn't do this 2025 or whenever, is because of what Chris ended with as well. He said be evangelical, and I'm saying put God first. Put God first in whatever you do. I could have been on TV anytime, I could have been on radio anytime, but that was going to be because I was going to think it's because of me. But now, because I started putting God first in everything I do, that's why you are here. You are a result of putting God first. And because of that, it means a lot to me. So thank you for being part of my dream come true. I think I said it when I spoke earlier on that my focus was not in filling the room. No. I don't want to drive around a whole lot of garbage, but I want the right people. And I believe each and every one of you guys, thank you so much to my speakers. I believe, maybe just a round of applause for these guys. I've built a relationship with you guys now that, trust me, because of stages, I know it might be difficult to get all of them in one room. But trust me, ask anybody who organizes events. There are people who told me it's difficult to get Mark and Chris, to get Darrow, everybody in one room. It's difficult because they're always booked. But I want to appreciate you guys for taking time to come here. It means a lot to me. This is not the end. We're doing this again. So I'm going to leave this time to the MC. Once again, thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Yes. So we've come to the end. Okay, I see Marianne showing me something there. Is it full? for everybody. Okay, that's for everybody. So if you move out, you can grab a piece of cake. We're moving out after buying a book, Uncle Chris. Yes, but our vote of thanks comes from Botu. Is Botu ready? I think they are. Oh, yeah. Okay, you're gonna do. Okay, let's then give a round of applause for this young man, Tatenda. Tatenda is moving on up. Thank you, my man. He started it up, and I think it's just proper for him to close it off again. Eh? So he's gonna close it off for us right now with a vote of thanks. Thanks, Tatenda. Let's give him a round of applause.
Have you learned something? Have you learned something? Yes. Okay. Out of the keynote speakers, I have learned something, and I would like just to give you something to think about as you go. So in one of the key speeches, one of the speakers said, lift as you rise. Now, the teacher was teaching us to stop focusing on our own personal agendas. A great man from Nigeria called Caesar Chukwuma says, a strong man stands up for himself, and a stronger man stands up for others. Now, that's something very deep. How many of us are able to think about others? How many of us right here? A few, I know. Now, that's something we need to think about as we go on. Out of all the speeches, I've learned that all that we need to do here is not depend on other people or put the blame on other people. All the blame lies in us, or say all the responsibility lies in us rather. So it's up to you to make a decision. So as you go from here, it's up to you to take what you've learned here and apply it, or just to be like something that goes in here and comes out of the other ear. Okay? Okay, so one thing about association, it starts from who you spend your time with. What do you spend your time on? What do you do with your time? What do you do with your day? We all have the same day as Admire. Look at Admire. Look at all he has accomplished. We all have the same day. We all have the same times. And we all have talents. But what are you doing with your talent? What are you doing with your time? And I'd like to just highlight on eagles. Do you know that eagles fly as high as 5 kilometers in the sky? Now, when an eagle meets another bird at 5 kilometers high, it knows that it's none other than another eagle, right? So the quality of people that you have around you is determined by the kind of person that you are as an individual. You know, so you can't come across small birds when you are a big bird. So one of the speakers says you must be expensive. So you need to learn to put value to yourself so that you attract the right kind of people around you. Okay? So in closing remarks, I'd like to thank all our speakers. Sage Jacob for leading us. Thank you so much. We had a wonderful time. Benita, one of our key speakers. Title for the poetry. That was a great piece. Mark, the Ministry of Sports, Arts and Culture. Darrell Lu, Admire Makarichi for putting up such a wonderful event for us. And I would also like to thank Legrange and Company for helping us put together such a wonderful event. Chris, one more time, and Admire Makarichi for the great event. And I'd also like to thank you all for coming and supporting the event. May God bless you and increase you in your ministries. So in closing, I'd like to call Sage Jacob to give us a closing prayer. And as we leave, don't forget to associate and add value to yourself. Thank you.
When Jesus healed the 10 lepers, only one came back to say thank you. And the Bible says that one he made whole. So today we're not just coming for healing, but we have been in this place to be made whole. And thank you, Lord, that you could speak through people. You could speak through books. You could speak through actions. Today we want to come and say thank you, my God. And we know that everything that happened here is because of you. And we thank every single bit of you for being God. Thank you that we know that everything that has been achieved today and that will still be achieved is because of you. We just come to say thank you and bless you, Lord. And we ask that as we move out to our different residences, may you go with us, Lord. May your peace be with us. May your protective blood guide us. May we go out and go and associate with you, Lord, through your people. I pray that when we associate, people will see you as you are busy associating. I pray that we will go out and through association, go and make a difference. In Jesus' name, amen. Have a good day. Thank you for being here, and God bless you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, my name is Mawata Macholana, aka DJ Bless from the Greater Number 2. I had a fantastic time right here with Maya Makarichi. Success by association. It's important to know who your associates are, because your associates will determine how successful or whether you fail or you succeed. Thank you very much. There's a saying that says, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Okay, cool.
Hi, my name is Diseng Nganzi. The book launch, Success by Association by Maya Makarichi. This book was the bomb. Excellent. Read the content inside and you will find that in your life, the purpose that God has made for you has to be used so that you can enrich other people's lives. This book contains all the powerful messages that can help you build yourself and develop yourself, and then as a result be able to fulfill your purpose in life. Success by association. In order for you to succeed, you need to associate with the right people at the right time, so that while you are waiting for your purpose to be fulfilled, you have met the right people. Thank you very much.
Wow, yeah, this event for me was great. I know people organize events and we go back after the event. Sometimes you might not get the numbers of the people that you want at that event. But what I'm taking home, which I'm trying to encourage you to also know, and I spoke about this during the session, please, always when you do something, it's not about having a bunch of people. You can have 2,000 people at an event, but the question is, are they the right people? So I'm happy where I am. I just want to thank part of my sponsors, Old Mutual, Tsokosan, Donovan Jacobs Productions. They are the ones making this to get to you. So thank you so much. I appreciate. I am happy. I'm going to sleep peacefully tonight because everything was under order. So yeah, I know it's the first event that I've organized for myself. So it's getting better and better. We're doing this again in September at Taberna Day in New Park. We're going bigger and better, but with the right people. Thank you, Dee.